Why do African billionaires think differently about money than your teachers did? Because while you memorized multiplication tables, they learned ancient wealth principles that built kingdoms. The same rules that made Mansa Musa the richest man in history still create wealth today. But your colonial education system buried these 7 principles deeper than gold in Takwa mines. What you discover in the next 6 minutes will transform how you see every dollar, pound, or naira that touches your hands. Rule number 1 shattered my perspective on employment forever. When Aliko Dangote was building his cement empire, he followed the first principle our ancestors knew by heart: never work for money, make money work for bloodlines. The Akan traders of Ghana understood this when they controlled gold routes across the Sahara. They didn't sell their time for wages, they built systems that generated wealth while they slept. Dangote applies this same principle today. His refineries, flour mills, and cement plants earn millions while he focuses on expansion, not hourly labor. You've been conditioned to trade time for money because that's what creates employees, not emperors. Rule 2 is what separated Folorunsho Alekijo from every oil executive around her. She mastered the ancient principle of resource multiplication. When she secured her oil block in 1993, she didn't just extract crude, she positioned herself at every profitable point in the value chain. This mirrors how great Zimbabwe controlled gold mining, refining, and trade routes simultaneously. Our ancestors never settled for one income stream when they could command entire economic ecosystems. The Buganda kingdom prospered because they controlled coffee cultivation, processing, and international trade. Today's wealthy Africans follow this blueprint religiously. Rule 3 explains why Tony Elumalu's banking empire spans 20 African countries. He understands the power of geographic diversification that ancient kingdoms mastered. The Mali Empire didn't limit trade to Timbuktu, they established commercial networks from Morocco to Niger. Modern African wealth builders spread their investments across multiple nations because they know political instability can devastate single-country portfolios overnight. While others fear cross-border investments, African millionaires embrace the continent's diversity as their greatest asset. Rule 4 is the most controversial because it challenges everything banks taught you about debt. Patrice Motsepe became South Africa's first black billionaire by leveraging other people's money strategically. He understood what ancient kingdoms knew: debt is a tool of expansion when used intelligently. The Kingdom of Kush built massive trade networks using borrowed capital from Egyptian merchants. They repaid loans with profit from expanded commerce, not reduced consumption. Motsepe applies this principle by borrowing to acquire mines, then using mining profits to service debt while building equity. You were taught debt is evil because enslaved people can't build generational wealth with credit access. Rule 5 reveals why Isabel dos Santos accumulated wealth across multiple industries before age 40. She followed the ancestral principle of compound relationships, not just compound interest. The Swahili coast prospered because Arab, Persian, and African merchants built trust networks spanning thousands of miles. Business relationships created opportunities beyond initial transactions. Every wealthy African today understands that your network determines your net worth more than your knowledge or effort. They cultivate relationships with suppliers, government officials, international partners, and fellow entrepreneurs like farmers tend crops. Rule 6 separates temporary money from lasting wealth. Strive Mosiwa built Econet Wireless by understanding that intellectual property creates longer-term value than physical assets. Ancient African metallurgists guarded iron smelting techniques as state secrets because knowledge traveled further than gold. The Ethiopian highlands maintained independence for millennia because they controlled coffee cultivation knowledge. Today's African wealth builders invest heavily in patents, trademarks, proprietary processes, and human capital development. They know that competitors can copy products but cannot replicate relationships and expertise. Rule 7 is why Michael Adenuga's telecommunications empire survived decades of political turbulence. He mastered the principle of adaptable diversification that ancient kingdoms used to weather droughts, wars, and changing trade routes. The Ashanti kingdom survived British colonization because they diversified beyond gold into agriculture, textiles, and regional trade. When gold prices fell, other revenue streams sustained the community. Adenuga applies this by spreading investment across telecoms, oil, banking, and real estate. When one sector faces challenges, others provide stability and growth opportunities. These 7 principles transformed ancient African societies into global economic powers and continue creating wealth today. They represent thousands of years of financial wisdom that colonialism tried to erase from your memory. But knowledge encoded in successful action survives every attempt at suppression. Every time you apply these principles, you reconnect with ancestral wisdom that built civilizations. You carry the financial intelligence of kingdoms in your DNA. Activation requires only recognition and action. Your relationship with money changes the moment you realize you descend from the world's wealthiest civilizations. This understanding transforms how you see every financial decision and opportunity that appears in your path. Follow Colonial to unlock more ancient wisdom that modern Africa needs to reclaim its economic destiny.